Cindy.
Hi, how are you?
How's it going?
Good, how are you doing? Everything good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Everything's good. My family's actually out of the house tonight.
Ooh,
They're at T-ball, all three of them. So it's like a rare.
yeah, fun,
Yep.
fun. But who's doing it, both or just
So my big girl, they both play, and my husband coaches both teams.
nice?
Yeah, so tons of free time in our family these days.
That's so cute.
The little one is playing tonight, but the big one is there to kind of hang out. There's some other kids her age that are there, so it's fun.
That's so cute. That's fun though. I totally miss doing all that.
It is kind of cool. Hey, Anthony.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a wacky week.
Oh, I'll be right back, guys. Hang on.
Okay,
Are you home? You made it home?
I did.
Good.
Are you still at the office?
I am.
I know. I heard. Well, I heard you, Dan and stuff. I was like, you could have gone home.
Yeah. I don't know. I just figured it was 4-ish and I was like, you know what? I'll just stay. Sometimes it's just easier to do the Zoom here than at home. You never know.
Well, is it because Thomas is too noisy?
I have the puppy. No, Thomas he's so good.
I'm just kidding. I have him running around Stoneham like a crazy person right now. He's got like 5 or 6 different I think he's got 5 or 6 different housing authority cases going at once.
Wow. Wait a minute. I thought we were switching that up.
We were, but I
Yeah,
guess Thomas he was too excited, so he took them all in at once. So I was like, if he can handle it, I'm fine with it. But
Yeah,
all right.
it's busy, but he can do it.
This is the first time in history I've gotten on here before Elaine and Laurel.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
so somebody tell me what the meeting number is, because I'm trying to get it on my home computer's dead and I can't do the link normally, and I can't read the number. So if you can just tell me what the meeting ID, it's on the top
meeting
left.
ID.
It's 893 07 89 3024.
Thank you.
You bet.
Oh, do we have a passcode? Do we?
Of course. Let's see. Passcode is 700718.
Thank you. There we
Hey,
go.
Melissa.
Okay, I'm gonna get out on this one. How do we get out? Get out. Leave.
How's it going, Melissa?
Hi.
We have some fun topics tonight, and Dan will also be joining us as well.
Cool.
Before we get started, I just want to tell Elaine, you're off the hook. I found somebody to do the blood pressure screening.
I would have been glad you know me. I would have been more than happy to help you.
Oh, I wanted to
Thank
send one of my Are you doing it at the senior center or in the office?
This one's in Melrose and it's at the senior center. I have a dentist appointment. So I think it would cut into when they start.
Would you, I would need to ask Sandy. Would it be asking too much if a patient just needed a quick blood pressure check, if they could drop in at 5 Common if they called?
Call me because Sandy's in Scotland.
Good for her.
That's right.
All right. It was just a thought I had the other day and I was like, wait a minute.
No, just have her call my cell or him and I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
Looks like we have one guest tonight.
Good.
All right. I guess it's 6 p.m. everybody. We got the gangs all here. So let's call this meeting to order. It's May 17th, 2023, 6 p.m. This is the Board of Health meeting. President Laurel, Elaine, myself, Melissa, Anthony, Dan, and the person who's listed as Waterman. Is that our guest, Anthony? And Cindy, excuse me. Cindy, of course, is here.
Yep. I believe our guest is Waterman tonight.
Okay. Is that a public participator or
I think so.
just for? Okay,
I think they
There's
just,
hello, there's an agenda item on for us, which is why we joined.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, so not exactly public participation, but
oh, okay.
got it. Okay, all right. I don't see anybody actually on for public participation then. So I suppose I'll close that. You want to get to the short but sweet minute from the last meeting? I didn't see anything that struck me as needing a correction. Anybody else? Laura, Elaine?
No,
Okay, I take a motion to approve the minutes from April 19th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Orville, I.
Over I.
Yeah, so moved. Excellent. And then do we want to go in order or since we have our guest, are they here to speak about the 108 Pleasant Street agenda item?
Yes.
Maybe do we want to do that now and wait for Bamboo House after, or?
That sounds good.
I'd be okay with if we just did a 108 Pleasant first.
All right, so why don't we do that? And then Dan, is that okay for you? I know you're here to speak about Bamboo House.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Cool.
Actually, Dan's here for both, so.
Oh, forgive me. All right. We'll keep you busy then, Dan. All right, so Anthony, can you give us a little background?
Sure, yeah, so we received a call originally, I believe it was an anonymous complaint, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy or Dan, whenever we get there, but I believe it was an anonymous complaint about some trash on the property as well as some siding that was damaged on the property on the house. So we did an investigation. This goes back to February, I believe, of this February of this year. Erin was the investigating inspector at the time. She issued an order to correct for the trash on the property as well as the siding. I believe the trash was cleaned up, but we still saw the siding was damaged. So we went back. I believe it gave them a notice, and then since then there hasn't been any improvement on the siding. So we ended up sending out 2 tickets recently just for non-compliance for the siding. And then I believe a conversation was had with the homeowner about the tickets that they wanted to appeal.
Mr. Waterman, would you like to go ahead and
Yes.
address us? Yeah.
So I'm Vincent Waterman from 108 Pleasant Street. In late December, I was stricken with a severe case of shingles that developed over my face and eyes, causing me to spend several days in the hospital, zapping my energy for about 3 months. I'm still recovering from this outbreak. It has caused permanent damage in one of my eyes. On February 1st, I received notice for a 410.5, which was for fixing insulation, vinyl siding, which had come down the home in the past storm. And for 410.6 and for 410.602, which was to clear the yard of bags of soil and sand that I was planning to for a walkway. I have been having major health problems for the last 10 years, having survived 2 heart attacks, 2 bad knees, battling a major 2-year-long with blood infection, diabetes issues, and most recently, the shingles and eye issues. I'll also be going under knee surgery June 5th. I asked my son to fly out to from California to help me with these issues. We got rid of the soil in late March, thus clearing the 410.6 and the 410.602 complaints. He started on the insulation and have been working on the vinyl siding beginning in May. Once it warmed up, since you can't work on vinyl in the winter because when you cut it, it cracks. I received a second notice. We had already started repairing the vinyl, a process that's continued to push on as much as my health allows. I have many inquiries to paying for this work, but unfortunately it's outside my Social Security income, amplified by my health problem. I'm hoping to show today the process has been made, along with showing that I'm trying to operate in good faith and that have been reported to me. I have pictures to show, but also it's very difficult to work on vinyl. I mean, you can't do it in February. I mean, you can't do it. Who wants to go up on a ladder? I mean, I can't do it. So I did what I could do. Then
Gonna share screen for a moment. So this is the area where the bags of soil had been. We cleared all of that. And then you can also see there had been no vinyl siding here. We have added all of this as well as this, though we are still in the process of adding it. And then on here, the shadows from the trees are obscuring it a little bit, but this had all come down. We've repaired all of that. We've added additional vinyl siding here and here. We've patched areas of insulation up here. And we're continuing to work on it. This is his son, by the way, who's talking off camera.
Thank you.
so I've tried very hard to comply with this. I even went down there and I talked to Dan, I believe, and he told me where the rubbish, they said it was rubbish. It was not rubbish at all. It was a couple of pieces of wood I put over the bags of rocks and sand for the winter because I screwed up my foot and I couldn't do it in October. So as soon as he comes out, we finished that off, and then as soon as we could, we started working on the vinyl. But I can't believe I have all the product and they want $19,000 to put it up. I mean, it's out of my range, and that's just for labor. I have the product. So that's just about it. I mean, I just feel I'm trying real hard here, and I don't understand. You give me a little more time.
Okay. Dan, anything to add?
Yes. So in terms of making a good faith effort, I do understand that there are some health issues that you have and have had ongoing, but I do want to make a point that the original complaint for the siding on the house was made 13 years ago, back in 2010. And on top of that, there is a history of also stairs missing on the back of the house that you did correct. So my point that I'm trying to make is you've had construction projects going on this property for well over a decade at this point, and the problem at hand being the siding has been ongoing for about 13 years now since we received an initial complaint. So although you do have these health issues, we need to try to find a solution so that we can put this issue to rest. 13 years is definitely a very long time for a simple maintenance responsibility to be going on.
Is this a rental or is this a private home?
It's a private home.
Okay, thank you.
At that point, 13 years ago, it was wood and paint planks on the side of the house.
Okay.
The original complaint was about that. We did have pay to have the vinyl side put up after that, but then yeah, the vinyl siding has since come down from that. So it we did correct the original issue. It's just now there's new siding, and that unfortunately came down in a windstorm.
Okay.
I would have had the original complaint, the original guy, but he got arrested. and he's in New Hampshire, and I tried complaining to him, it was to no avail.
Okay.
Were there ever any other complaints about the property with trash or any kind of violations, Dan, in this 13 years since they started?
Yes, there have been a decent amount. Yes, I'm just flipping through the records right now. There have been a handful of complaints made throughout 2010. I have one from August 2012. I have another one from November 29th, 2012 with actually there was a magistrate hearing filed by Jen regarding the stairs issue on the back side of the house. where it looks like there were no stairs for the door, the rear door, so no means of egress for the back door. And it looks like Jen pulled a magistrate hearing, and it seems as though the stairs were constructed, but not with a building permit, but it was corrected and a building permit was pulled, and Jen did, she did dismiss the court case.
Dan,
From
remind,
there-
remind us who Jen is, who are you speaking of?
Jen Keogh, Jen,
Oh.
what's her last? Yeah.
Yeah.
Were those
Um,
complaints, Dan, still in regards to the siding missing, or were these complaints on and off throughout the years? Complaints about trash on the property or, you know, unregistered motor vehicles or anything like that?
These were on and off throughout the years, and it seems to be trash and siding grouped with something else. We've had complaints about trash and siding and hoarding, potential hoarding, but I mean, there's no strong evidence of that. And it looks like in 2015, there was a fire alarm that went off, and it looks like the Wakefield Fire Department responded with 3 engines, and they entered through the second floor window, and because they were worried that there was a fire. And in the report that it says, the occupants, or it says that the neighbors reported that the occupants were hoarders and that there's no heat within the house and that they use space heaters. So the fire department responded because they were afraid of a fire being started because the alarm was going off and neighbors could hear it and nobody was inside. So in the fire department report, they do say that the upstairs was cluttered. So there, I guess the point I'm trying to get to is there's several complaints about trash and siding, and also some with hoarding throughout the year. So there's quite a thick file of numerous complaints made against the property.
Is it the same neighbors consistently?
It does not say. It seems to be anonymous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything the town can do to offer, so we're looking for a solution, not a punishment?
Right.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we talked about was, finding is just but one mechanism for us to kind of, achieve compliance in the town. I think we've mentioned when they've come in with us that, we can get them in touch with services that may be able to help pay for some of this stuff, or, help find services and then further connect them to, assistance, right? So, we've tried to help find those solutions, and we continue to. I think as long as you guys are willing to work with us, I think we'd like to help you guys find kind of a cost-effective solution to this. And I know, labor is expensive nowadays, and you may have the pieces now, but I'm sure, material delay and all that stuff will play a factor. So, as long as we can form a plan with a timeline, because if for us, it's also, we don't have the resources to continue following one case kind of throughout, throughout this process. We need to kind of set benchmarks and then have you guys check in with us at those benchmarks, meeting that timeline. So I think, yeah, we're happy to work with the property owners on this, but just want to make sure that we don't continue to add to the file that's already there right now.
Okay. So the request from Mr. Waterman, that was very, thank you for writing your statement. And clearly you were organized and presenting that. My name's Laurel. I'm also on the board. I just want to, I want to be mindful that the town kind of has set a precedent on the very arduous Water Street project. And I think we did get to some success, and that was a combination of building, fire, health, and we got to town council. So, learning from that, learning that we can be successful, but we have to be appropriate. And Mr. Waterman, you generally live by yourself?
No, my wife lives with me.
Okay. Are you getting any assistance? And if this is out of the scope of the meeting, anybody can stop me from asking. I'm just more concerned that you're able to get the help. It sounds like, this house is getting away from you.
It is. I'm trying to get ready to sell it.
Mhm.
And I probably would have sold it in the last year or two except for the health issues I've had.
Mhm.
Now, the knee operation I'm about to have, I've been wanting to have that for 5 years. They wouldn't do it because of the heart attacks and because I had open wounds. Because I had 2 abscesses in one foot and I had toes removed from my other foot. So they won't put a knee in, a replacement. So doing this on the 5th is like staggering because I'm in agonizing pain here.
Okay.
And I want to move, but I want to have this done before I move to Florida. I want to have my knee done in Massachusetts. I
Okay.
think it's
So,
why.
so I don't, I don't want you to have to overshare your medical things. I'm just trying to, I don't want to expose you to that vulnerability, but I am hoping, Anthony and Dan, that, here, we've been celebrating improved resources in town. I'm wondering if, the senior center could maybe get involved, elder services and just kind of come up with a solution rather than this, because this is a demonstration of failing health and not, and limited refunds, resources within an escalating inflation. So I understand the history, knowing that you're trying to get out of the property is maybe the catalyst to finally get some things done, even being creative in that regard. So
Yeah, Laurel, I totally agree. I think everything we've done so far to kind of shore up our process of inspectional services part of it, but also having support for the community. And I think as kind of new information is made available to us, then we're able to kind of make better judgments. So I think with this new information, I think it makes it more clear that we can engage other parts of our department as well as other departments in our town that can support support our residents. So I think Mr. Waterman, I appreciate you sharing this information and your struggles, and we want to work with you. And so I think the next step for us would be, as long as you're okay with it, we would like to reach out to our Council on Aging as well as our Mystic Valley Elder Services partners. They're very strong partners to us, and they provide a lot of resources.
Yes, that'd be fine. Be wonderful.
Okay, thank
Are
you.
you a veteran, Mr. Waterman?
No,
Oh, okay. Because we have a very good veteran services here who are very, very helpful.
Okay, that sounds good. So I think with that, as long as we can create a plan moving forward, I think that would be appropriate.
so is there an outstanding fine that we need to address? And how
Correct. So
big is it?
I believe there's a first and second violation fine. I believe the first one's $50 and the second fine is $100.
Those
I-
were for the
I-
trash or for the siding or for both?
They were, I believe, in combination, the trash and the siding. I think the trash was remedied, but the siding was in the same order to correct. So,
Okay.
And I think he paid the first ticket, but then the second ticket we haven't paid yet. That was where we requested the
Okay.
hearing.
okay.
So it's
So-
$100 outstanding, is that correct?
So yeah, I think tonight, Cindy, we just have $100 outstanding. Is that correct?
I don't have any payments.
You don't have a
Okay.
payment of the first one either?
No.
I have proof of that, so.
Okay, well, sometimes it just crosses I didn't get any info from, you paid it through town clerk?
Yeah. I
Oh,
have
we
a
can,
copy.
then we can just check with town
Yep,
clerk.
that's fine. We'll
Yeah.
get a hold of them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was the $50 fine?
Yes,
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
If the $50 fine has been paid, I think I'd be willing to reconsider the late fee. Laurel, Elaine?
Yeah, I would make a motion to rescind the second fee.
In that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Warville.
Over, I.
Linehan, aye. So Mr. Waterman, then if you've paid that initial $50, then we can consider that second $100 fine rescinded.
okay.
Thank you.
And are we, like Anthony, Cindy, Dan, are we thinking about making up a timeline, maybe offline to work towards?
Yeah, I think, just a very, surface level timeline. Tomorrow, we will reach out to Karen Burke from Council on Aging, and then we will also make a referral to Mystic Valley. to just kind of see, you know, what will be appropriate. They provide all levels of service. It's not just folks who need, you know, lots of service. They provide even just like, you know,
Mhm.
small financial assistance there. They do the whole gambit. So
Okay.
Mr. Waterman, I encourage you to use these services. You know, I think sometimes the impact of stress is more than we know on our health, and it sounds like you have a lot going on. Again, yeah, thanks for sharing. But I think, you know, getting this help may put you, you know, on the way to feeling generally better, to sorting this house out, and maybe moving on with the next steps in your life.
Yes, it would be.
Anything else, Mr. Waterman, or perhaps younger Mr. Waterman?
Thank you all for listening. And yes, this is, we are going to continue trying it, and I will be helping out, want to rectify the situation.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your cooperation.
Thank you.
All right.
Take good care.
All right.
This print.
Anthony and Dan, are we expecting representatives from Bamboo House, or is this?
no, so actually, tonight's meeting, tonight's agenda item of Bamboo House is actually more of a planning meeting for us as a board.
Okay.
So, you know, generally speaking, we handle, you know, food inspections. We handle, you know, kind of some of the more day-to-day related to food operations we handle. But we wanted to bring this to your attention because, as you know, Bamboo House had a not so satisfactory inspection probably about 6 months ago now. So at that time, it was pretty severe, the conditions we found. So we ended up closing their restaurant for about 2 weeks, I believe. And I think we ended up coming to a resolution. They adopted a food consultant for 6 months. That food safety consultant, Roger Kwan, worked with them to kind of get that place turned around, you know, from a culture standpoint, talking about safe practices, you know, because we've found, you know, quite a few violations while we were there. The first, I believe, I'm just trying to pull up the record here, but the first re-inspection we did after the food safety consultant left, I believe we found one violation, and that was for food separation and potential contamination. Is that right, Dan?
Correct.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So that was, you know, and as far as criticals go, I mean, as priority. So forgive me, we have changed the language around violation types. So priority violations are now what used to be called critical violations, and the priority foundation are what used to be best practices. So, you know, just looking at the first re-inspection, we still had one priority violation in food contamination and lack of food separation. And so, you know, as far as criticals go, that's a pretty important one, right? That's to prevent the spread of foodborne illness. Then, you know, subsequent inspections up until, I believe our most recent one was May 3rd. May 3rd, our most recent inspection, we've consistently gone back to seeing 3 critical violations at the establishment. And so in speaking with the owners and the people who run the restaurant on a day-to-day basis, we still find that there's either a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, or a lack of, you know, willingness to comply with some of the things that were probably taught during the food safety consultant period. So, you know, to see them kind of go back to, you know, pre-consultant levels, you know, maybe not as severe in some of those things, but the practices look very similar. So we're disappointed to see that. And I think one of the things that we want to consider is, you know, we want to give them another chance. I think what we're going to do, as long as the board is willing to support it, is that we will require them to get services from another food safety consultant, potentially for 3 months, but a different food safety consultant from the one prior. And then once we have them go through that 3-month period, I think in this kind of like a letter that we're going to issue to them, I think, you know, on a conditional letter, I think a conditional letter would be for them to get a food safety consultant for 3 months. And then after the 3 months food safety consultancy, I would say if our inspection reports continue to see this level of priority violation or the same priority violations that we're seeing, I think we have to have a different discussion about whether or not we should even allow for a food permit to be granted to them in the town of Wakefield. I think one of the things that, you know, we've talked about is they have a long history. I mean, we're talking going back to, and actually Dan was nice enough to scan this to me, Dan and Cindy scanned this back to me. We have, you know, inspection reports going back to 2016, where, you know, they have, I believe they have 7 critical violations. You know, they're put on the track of having a food safety consultant. They have 7, they have 4. They're put in the food safety consultancy. You know, they get better for a little bit, and then they go back to having 7 critical violations. You know, then you move forward in time to 2022, and they have 4 critical violations. And I think this might have been right before the tipping point, I believe. Is that right, Dan? Actually, no, that was a tipping point for us to have them go get another food safety consultant. That'd be the first time while I've been here that they've got a food safety consultant. Then their first re-inspection after the food safety consultant in January. They have 1 priority violation, so they improve. And now they're back to having 3 priority violations. And, you know, those priority violations are the same ones. It's the food not separated, potential contamination, and proper hot holding, proper cold holding, right? So these are your kind of very, you know, strong tenets of the food code. So I think it's one of those things where, you know, with such a long history dating back to 2016, and I know there's been ownership change, I know there's been, you know, but there's still, you know, some people who are working there from that time as well. I just think it's time for us to consider, you know, when food safety, when food establishments sign that contract and get a food permit from us, they're signing a contract with the town of Wakefield to operate in good faith, act in the best interest of the town and to provide safe conditions for preparing food. And I just don't think that at this moment Bamboo House has made that effort. We're well aware of, you know, making sure that we have proper communication with them. There is a language barrier. So we did work with them to go on the state list of food safety consultants the first time and help them identify food safety consultants that are that speak their language that they're comfortable with. But you know, even going through these steps, and they did tell us that the food safety consultant did help them with things. But you know, just this kind of reversion back to the issues we've seen before is not promising.
Have there been reports of like illness after eating from like people?
So I don't believe we have any in the past, but we have a couple of anonymous complaints that are related to dining room area. So you know what the public can actually see. So you know it's general cleanliness issues. You know there's complaints about storage of things that are not related to food preparation on site, that not in the kitchen, but you know on the premises. Generally speaking, we do ask establishments to keep personal items and household items off the premises of their establishment. So there have been complaints about that, but not necessarily any foodborne illness complaints yet.
And this will potentially be the 3rd time they'll have had a food safety consultant?
Is this a 3rd or 4th, Dan? I think it's 3rd, right?
3rd
time, okay.
Have we ever met any with, you know, been over there while a consultant has been there, so we can maybe get some feedback? You have.
Yeah,
and were you happy with the quality of the last consultant?
So well, Dan can speak to a little bit more. Dan was actually there in person. I think, you know, it's tough because
I can actually tell just
You're being recorded, Dan.
No, I think and Dan, you can chime in after, but I think the food safety consultant, you know, for the most part has all the basics. I think it's more of a, you know, the reason we bring in a food safety consultant that can speak the appropriate language and may have that cultural background shared with that establishment is because they understand kind of, you know, what it takes to communicate those changes, right? You know, a lot of these different, you know, restaurants that come from different backgrounds, their perception of what is safe or their perception of how those standard practices may not line up, you know, originally with the food safety requirements that we have here. So I think, you know, we did communicate with the food safety consultant, you know, what our expectations were, and I think it took a couple of tries, but he did end up ultimately communicating, you know, the appropriate information. Whether or not that process was easy for us, it wasn't, but he did end up communicating that information.
And is it a fiscal year permit? Is July 1st the time when permits have to be redone?
So actually, Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we are actually in the process of moving all of our almost all of our yearly permits to the calendar year. So this year will be our first year moving food permits to the end of the year. So we'll be doing calendar year food permits from now on.
So we're not ruining your summer. We're ruining your new year. Okay, so we don't have, so we don't have 8 weeks or 6 weeks to say, okay, no permit, is granted. Like we don't have that kind of an incentive available to us.
Well, I mean, I think
But closing is
what-
bad enough.
Yeah, I think, that's definitely not for a vote tonight. I think it's more of just a discussion about, if after another 3-month food safety consultancy, if we continue, we do 1 re-inspection, 2 re-inspections, 3, and, I'm not gonna put a definite, like 3 re-inspections and you're clear, you can do whatever you want again, right? But, within reason, if in the next year, we're still seeing, these issues after the food safety consultant comes through, then we have to have a discussion about whether or not we're going to grant them another permit, right? So this could actually, work timeline wise with the new calendar year, because we are going to suggest either 3 or 6 months of food safety consultant starting, this month. So it could line up well with our new permit schedule.
Wow.
Yeah, and we definitely don't do this lightly. I mean, we've had a few rough inspections in the last couple of years, but I think the difference is when a food safety consultant is involved and they've gone out there and we've done re-inspections, we've found that they've turned it around, right? They've turned around the culture, they've really taken it seriously, and they're doing their best to kind of abide by the food code, but this just hasn't been the case for this one yet.
The change in management, Anthony, I know that they've changed owners 2 or 3 times, and I know they changed cooks too.
I believe the ownership changed 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Is that right, Cindy?
Yeah, I think it was probably 3 years ago.
3 years ago now, I think. Yeah, so there was a management change 3 years ago, most recently, and I don't know about the cooks, but they seem to be pretty long-standing employees. They may have added somebody, but it looks like the ones who are there have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things we might suggest is the current person is listed as the person in charge. She has ServSafe, I believe, Dan, is that right? She has ServSafe, but she's also kind of in and out. She's not necessarily there all the time. So as part of our recommendation, we may recommend that everybody at the establishment go through ServSafe, or at least the person who's most on site become the ServSafe certified and get their food.
Well, it's cheaper than a consultant for everybody to have ServSafe. It is, I
believe it is. I mean, I don't know what consultants' rates go for now, depending on how frequent they go, but yes.
Well, we've run our own ServSafe and they have.
It's like
Okay, I'm not sure.
$150.
I'm sorry, say that again, Cindy,
I think it's like $150.
per person.
Yeah.
Oh, per person for ServSafe. Okay.
So, I just feel like, ServSafe at least kind of has a minimum of expectations and there's a checklist and there's no chance of missing the information depending on whether or not you were at the restaurant when the consultant was there. So I wonder if that's, that just bucks up your level of compliance if you have people who actually understand what we're talking about when we're discussing
Right. No, I
violations. So
I totally agree with that. I think
Okay.
we could definitely go that route and require everybody to get ServSafe. It seems like, and I can confirm, next time, it seems like they have 3 employees that work in the back, and it's the same 3 every day. So they were definitely those 3 were definitely there when Roger, the previous consultant, was there.
Was there a question that the previous consultant maybe like didn't do the job that they should have done? Is that why we're thinking about another consultant?
I think different consultants have different strengths. I think we pull them off the Mass State list. That they get their certification and they kind of go for it, right? But I think sometimes a different voice. Sometimes it can can convince somebody. We've had great luck with different consultants over the 2 years here. So I think we could have the same consultant, but maybe a different consultant, just like any other inspector. They tend to see certain things, tend to focus on certain things. So I think it's never a bad idea to have kind of a fresh face.
And what's the language barrier? What particular language?
I believe they speak multiple languages, but I think Mandarin is their most comfortable language.
So what I'm wondering is, this is just a thought, Rep Wong, I don't know what the reputation of, but that restaurant's been around a long time. So we certainly know it's a restaurant business. I wonder if he could just be a resource as someone to say, look, this is how you do it. Or at least maybe he can recommend a consultant who might be a good cultural match.
I actually,
Here,
I hear what you're saying. I actually have someone in mind. Generally speaking, we don't make recommendations because we don't want to endorse
Right.
one over the other. And the first time around, I basically just help them, select for the ones that have that language capability. I do know of one that we've worked with for a long time now, that is absolutely fantastic and speaks that language, has that background. So I think
Right.
as long as we fill something out and say there's a disclosure here that we given a due process to find somebody, but this is someone that we've worked with, and so we're not just endorsing this private entity. But
okay.
But we do have someone in mind.
I was thinking way out of the box.
One thing that strikes me, not to play devil's advocate, but I'm going to play devil's advocate,
That's okay.
is that the food inspector you have does have a relationship with this establishment. So I mean, they might not have to sort of like reinvent the wheel, they could sort of perhaps pick up and if they did have a positive relationship with the restaurant and the employees and the owners, would it be perhaps more streamlined to kind of like move forward with some of the changes that need to happen? Like, oh, remember we talked about this last time, like, here we go, this is what we need to do next.
You mean like the previous?
Yeah, like bring the previous
yes.
person back. That's what I'm saying. Like, is there some benefit there that maybe we should consider too, that they already sort of know each other? I hear you on the fresh set of eyes, and I think that's really valid too. I don't know, I guess there's always like probably a getting to know you period, right? Could that part be skipped? If it was, if you feel like that person did what they needed to do.
Yeah, and again, I can't say 100%. I'm pretty sure that person did their job. It's just that the point of getting a food safety consultant is that we also have limited resources, so we weren't in there day in day out with them. Dan, I saw you shake your head earlier. Do you want to kind of chime in on what you thought?
My thought is, in past experiences, a lot of the problems are who's taking over at what time. If you go into a lot of different establishments, Dan, I don't know if you've had this happen, like Laura was saying, everyone should be serve safe in a building and in a restaurant, and most restaurants will do it. But what happens in this type of business, they don't always be there, and someone has to go home to get their children or is ill, so someone else covers, and that other person covering is not serve safe. And I think that a lot of restaurants don't understand that there should be somebody who is serve safe on at all times. Am I correct, Dan? That's the recommendation. And
Correct.
yeah, but they don't always. Sometimes it's a language barrier, sometimes it's an emergency. But I think that that's a huge problem. I've seen that in a lot of places in the past in inspecting.
Well, and that serve safe person needs to be recognized as such by their peers at the restaurant and listen to them.
But I think, the serve safe is important, but is some of this more like a next level issue, like the ownership and the management?
Right.
They need to be the ones to sort of set forth these rules. It's not like the cooks can spend their entire time monitoring safety while they're trying to do their job and cook. I guess I'd be interested to hear what the plan is for ownership, for leadership in that restaurant to be making sure that things are set forth the way that they need to be.
Yeah.
They're the
I
ones
would-
that make the rules, right?
Yeah, so I would say, this is this is by no means any kind of like large restaurant, right? I mean, this is
Right,
a
right. But I
this
mean,
is-
there's
this is-
gotta be someone's on the top, and then there's some people that are kind of.
Yeah, and I think the person who basically is our go-to, like the management part, she also happens to be the serve safe manager also, so she is there, just not always when we are. And so I think part of it is, we have tried to communicate with her, if you are going to be the only serve safe, certified person, you should be there at all times. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, is there some sort of like, buy-in from management level to the cooks, it's for, just to get safety as kind of like a, as a universal message. I get that. I think one of the things we'll stress, I think either way coming out of this, I think they're going to need a food safety consultant. I think just in terms of further down the line, once we've gone through this again, right, whoever they go with, either the previous consultant or someone new, I think, just having given them this many chances, benefit of the doubt, saying maybe the last consultant didn't jive with them, or maybe they just need a refresher, or maybe, the importance of having somebody on site at all times that's, that can be that PIC, is important. If we get that all out of the way, I think this next food safety consultant will be kind of that litmus test, right? Saying, here's the benchmark, right? Here's your last chance to get this right, right? So.
And do they
Um,
understand the peril that they may be in?
So the problem is,
Like
before we brought this, to them, we wanted to bring it to the board and say, is this something that you guys would be, okay with considering? Not that we're going to commit to, revoking a permit or anything, but just as an idea, if down the line we do this again, food safety consultant, we make sure that we have proper communication with them, but then we slide back into this, 3 to 4 or 5 priority violation zone again. This is something that we'll have to consider, I think, but.
It sounds like there's a pretty clear paper trail of everything that's kind of gone on, the discussions, the violations, the reports, and it sounds like you guys have done what needs to be done to document where things are going, and it feels like it makes sense to think about more serious consequences if things don't work out after this next food consultant.
Okay, that sounds good. So yeah, again, this is not a request for a vote or anything. This is just more so kind of education for you guys, and so you don't get sprung on this topic, 6 months from now and go, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just kind of keep you guys in the loop, but I think we're going to recommend that they bring in a food safety consultant again. If they feel very strongly that they want to bring back the previous one, that's fine with us. I think they can bring back Roger. If that's the kind of familiarity they need to kind of make some more progress. If they don't feel strongly either way, I may just move on with the recommendation I have for someone we've worked with before. So.
Well, and it may be, a source of validation as well. Yeah, a second opinion, as we say.
Yeah. Elaine, any other final thoughts?
No, sometimes I think too, when you look at a small establishment like this, it's often, like Candace, you were mentioning about who's in charge. They're usually family run, and sometimes that causes a little bit of a riffraff. You know that, we all know that. You know how it is in the holidays if everybody's in the kitchen and who's really in charge, right? And I think sometimes this happens a lot to small businesses like that, Mama runs it and mama leaves, and then the daughter's there, and then it's the granddaughter, and who's kid and who's over here and who's over there. And I think there's been a history of that there at this particular business, of all family run and family there constantly. So it could be something else like that. Sometimes it isn't. That's why, like in the past, we've always said, just make everybody serve safe so that you'll always have somebody.
Okay. So I think what we'll suggest to them is that they all go through the serve safe training. And I think a food safety consultant would be a good idea. We could even do it for like 2 months. We don't have to do like the 6 months. We can do any kind of period in between. So how about we just go with 2 months? We'll go 2 months and serve safe for everybody. And then we'll reevaluate then.
Yep.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah,
All right, sounds good. So, Cindy, let's put it in the books.
okay. Got it.
All
Okay.
right. Melissa, do you want to talk camp, or Anthony, do you want to talk? Who wants to talk camp?
I will let Melissa set the stage because she's worked so hard on this.
Go camp nurse.
Yeah, well, it's camp season again, and we have multiple camps across all 3 sets of towns, but the Boys and Girls Club actually is a big Wakefield camp, as well as Camp Q, which is out of the Reading YMCA. And Anthony and Sandy and I met with the Boys and Girls Club, and Sandy and Anthony met another time when I wasn't able to go. There were some serious issues last year with them not having good policies and procedures in place for all sorts of things, for bad weather, where they could take the kids. They usually go to Moulton Playground all day long, and
Melissa, time out. All camps, or which camp are you talking about?
I said Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, thank you.
So they're at Moulton Field. The kids get dropped off there and picked up there by parents, and then they are there for the whole time. But when there is weather, they're supposed to have a backup plan, and they really didn't have one last year. They said they had an arrangement with the West Side Social Club, and they had no keys and no arrangement. They now are executing a contract with West Side Social Club, so they can actually get in there if the weather is too hot, or if they need, to be out of the weather. And there were some other things there. Their materials that they submitted are really not complete, and Sandy is taking the lead on making sure that they have the background so they can redevelop their materials, where they can pull from the regulations and craft their response based on that. And so we are at this point waiting for them to resubmit their updated materials. And at that point, then we will, there will be a full camp inspection. I have not, nobody has gone out to start to look at immunization records and physicals and all that, but it really is their responsibility to review that before it gets to us. But I can tell you from last year, they had never even looked at it. So it's a whole education now. And so Sandy's done a great job of pulling together all sorts of information to get to them. We sat down with them. There's a new camp director in Wakefield this year. He seems really like he's going to be a great person to work with. So I have high hopes that this will be much better. And then we have a really good relationship with the person who does all the administrative work for Camp Q, which is based in the at the church at the head of the lake, but it's through the Reading YMCA. So she's based there, Marianne Hannafin. And then the Quannapowitt Yacht Club it runs a camp, and they have never even registered apparently as a camp. So we're going to be contacting them and saying, you are running a camp, you need to do all, you need to get a permit and do all these things if you want to.
They did years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Ruth inspected them.
I think that what happened with them was they changed their program completely, Melissa. So they
Really?
didn't follow under the guidelines. They weren't that many hours, so many hours in the day like they do with the camp regs. I think what happened with them was with COVID, they stopped a lot. So it's been quite a few years, I think. I think it's been a good 3 or 4 years before they've really been a
Yes.
quote camp.
Sandy looked online, and I think they're running the camp Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 2:30. So I think they fall within the regulations now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know that during COVID at one time, they had contacted us and the health department before Anthony came in to rescue me that summer. they had gone down to like just doing some sailing lessons here and there. There was no like real camp. They kept their distances, you know, they tried to follow all the good regulations, so they didn't really have a camp. I think that could be their problem. And
Right.
another thing too is, Melissa, I have mentioned before, is that I've always worked with camps in the back, in you know, the past. And what we've done is we've always made a notebook for them with
Uh-huh.
everything in line. And then they have a copy and we'd have a copy, and they'd get their copy so that before camp season even started, they would already start to take out their old paperwork and get their new paperwork, so that by the time you get down there, everything is a-okay.
Well, we're restarting that then.
It works. It does work. Let me
It
tell
does,
you.
I think it does work. You're right, Billy.
I think one of the great things that we've discovered in our discussions, Melissa, Sandy, and I, you know, to give them kind of a head start. 105 CMR 430 is a beautiful thing. It has a checklist. It has the sections basically pre-written. You know, all of the requirements are there. So the great thing is we've just kind of told them, you can just copy and paste from the state regulation. Obviously you have to follow those regulations, but you know, the actual camp manual, camp program that they're putting together, that can come straight from the state regulation. It's not a hard lift. And the good thing is, you know, when any changes need to be made, especially to customize your fire plan, your emergency evacuation plans, you know, all that stuff, it's just plug and play. So you just take that section, you put it in there, and then you put it, you know, in accordance with what the state requires, which is where, you know, shout out to Laurel, thank you for helping with that. I reached out to Laurel and I said, you know, it says the American Camp Association Emergency Management, you know, guide is kind of like the gold standard that the state points to. So I think if we're able to show them that and say, just plug in your formula into that requirement, then all you got to do every year is just come back to it. Make sure you renew your agreements with Dolbear School, with the, you know, with the Galvin, with, you know, West Side Social Club. Once you renew those things, it's a plug and play every year. It makes it much easier. So, you know, it's just a matter of getting it all in one, all right first time, and then you can kind of make it easier each year. So,
And as we say in the ACA, that's how we've always done it, is not an answer. So, you know, the checklist is, you know, don't assume you have these relationships, and don't assume, you know, that the school remembers the history. Things change all the time. I do want to stress that we are the inspectional service. We are not their nursing service. Like they have, you know, as you've said, Melissa, they have to do it. So I think we need to make that expectation clear. And what strikes me too is just to push these agencies up their own corporate ladder. You know, there's a hierarchy to both the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club. YMCA is an active, you know, as a whole, are leaders in the American Camp Association. And, you know, any of their overnight camps are certainly certified with ACA. Day camps start to get a little, you know, less so. There's just, you know, there's just less risk in day camps. But, you know, even more so, evacuation procedures and weather and a day camp can't go unaddressed. You know, I'm guessing there's an assumption that, you know, kids who go to public school who, you know, got their stuff signed off in the public school nurses, but, you know, it's like, listen, all you have to do is like find that same form, call the school nurse, and maybe they'll print it out for you. But well, they might, I mean, everything is on, I mean, that's what I've taught me. Anyways, that's a separate conversation. But
Everybody can get it. Everybody can get a hold of it. You're right.
yeah,
It's
but
not like immunizations and physicals, and especially your immunizations, the camps, that's where you usually find the biggest problem, you know that. And everything's recorded in the MIIS, and you can request it yourself. Go online and parents can request it, and bingo, they got it.
Or your
Really
online
fast.
portal. You don't even need to request it. It's there.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But again, I think there's a lot of teaching that the expectation of our, you know, that's what people need to do. That, you know, we still have parents who are like, you know, like you have the tech savvy and the tech resistant sometimes, and you know, and so I just think that we have to continue articulating expectations, and that done right, we don't, this is all prevention. All these policies are for a reason. They don't want to bring attention to themselves. And good job, I hope that we can button it up. And I think between you and Sandy, should be able to do that.
I do have a question though. In Melrose, there are a couple of sports camps that run basketball camps that run a week at a time, but I haven't worked with any in Wakefield. Are there not any
Oh,
individual sports camps?
Wakefield Rec League, I think.
Well, I'm not, the rec league, I don't think is covered under by the health department. I don't think they fall under the
Yeah,
same.
I'm not sure if the rec league counts as a camp, by the way
Right.
they
Oh, it
operate,
isn't.
but I think we're talking more like, are there any like basketball camps in Wakefield? Do you
Yes,
guys know?
independent almost for-profit type camps.
So I guess the only way we would know that is asking a facilities coordinator for the schools, if the schools are being rented,
Right.
and then saying, so what's going on with that? Excellent question.
Yeah.
But you guys
It's
haven't heard of it. You guys
it's
haven't
never
heard
been
of
on
it.
our radar before, I
Okay.
can tell you.
No,
Okay.
it's been in Melrose though, because there was a soccer coming in from another state, a soccer association that was trying to get into Melrose to run camps. And I know that they couldn't come in because of that. They didn't want to follow the rules and the regulations. And they knew that Wakefield was the same
Right.
director and same
There-
health, so they didn't
There
bother.
are two 1-week basketball camps by two different vendors in Melrose, and I just don't know. I'm not totally privy to everything about Stoneham yet, but I'll do some research on Wakefield.
I think what it is Melissa's just looking for more work. I haven't given her.
Yeah, I know. She has nothing else to do, right?
Yep, I think that's what it is. Okay, that sounds good. So were there any other questions about camps? Just want to make sure that we recognize there's somebody else here right now from the public, or I don't recognize a name at least, so
I don't recognize either yet.
okay. I don't know, do we need to open for public, or I guess we
No.
oh,
We already
we
did. It's
we did that
closed.
already. Oh,
Yep.
okay.
So
So whoever is on right now, V. DeSessa, I'm assuming you're here just to listen in, which you're welcome to do. But public participation is done.
That's all I had for camps. Do you guys have any questions, or Melissa, do you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Anthony, do you have a health director's report this month?
I have three updates. First, I want to say thank you again for the opportunity to speak at the MAPHN conference. Elaine was absolutely hilarious. She got up there and made everyone feel old. So it was a great opportunity. Melissa and Sandy were able to go as well. It was really cool to see, a room full of public health nurses that just the combined knowledge, so much to learn, and just to hear what different municipalities do. I mean, it's we're very lucky to have the resources that we have here. We're lucky to have all you guys on the board, but just in general, having the public health nursing staff is absolutely critical to everything that we do, and it's a huge tenet. So yeah.
I listened a little bit to your speech. It was great.
And kudos to Anthony. There were over 120 people, including DPH and a lot of big people from public health, who were very impressed with Anthony. A lot of nurses who were very jealous of Melissa
Yeah.
and Sandy, that they have someone who backs up and someone who went along with my jokes. And he did very well, and he put a couple in himself, but he did a marvelous job. And it was so nice to see that there are people that support us in public health, because right now across the state, there are many, many, many communities that are fighting, absolutely fighting to keep a public health nurse for even more than 2 hours. So we were very proud of him, and a lot of people from DPH spoke to me afterwards, and they were very, very impressed with him and told us how lucky we are to have him. And they also spoke to him. He made a big impression. He was the last, and I always said that they saved the best to last.
Thank you, Elaine. Yeah, so fantastic opportunity, and I think we'll like to connect. I think Karen DeCampo was there, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Karen DeCampo from Winchester. Yes,
Winchester.
Winchester.
Right,
That
yep.
was great. We saw Tracy Ascalillo from, oh no, Tracy. Oh gosh, I forgot her
Mello.
last name.
Mello.
Tracy Mello from Middleton. Yeah, so we got to see a lot of familiar faces in the area, as well as some that we only see sometimes because of the meetings. But yeah, so it was a great opportunity. To continue the good news, Laurel obviously was there at Wake Up annual meeting, very successful event. We were able to recognize, so many of these great youth that we have in our community. Just the combined effort they put together to tackle so many different things. Obviously, Candace is
Really,
involved.
really impressive.
Oh, I know. I
Really
mean,
impressive.
ranging from the things that, like later school start times, like with Candace, we're getting involved. And, they also did, what was that? Did they do like a social media project as well? Laurel, I can't remember what the exact name of
Yeah,
that
well,
one.
that was
There was the
been
first presentation
been a long
that day. Or was it like a screen time thing? I think it was.
Yeah, and also, they also kind of cross-addressed teen
Dating violence. Yep. Right.
and continue to do their surveillance and kind of environmental impact stuff. So, very holistic. And then they it's kind of mean. So Maureen, we asked Maureen Busby to do the 10 years in review, and she went all the way back to kids from 2016 who graduated in 2014, who were her buyers. She didn't explain who buyers were, but our youth buyers who go in, who are underage, just to attempt to purchase a product. And she just did, as she always does, a fabulous job. She was a reluctant speaker, but then she embraced it and did a great job. And then we surprised her with an award for the unsung hero. And she, I don't know, well, I can't remember what we named it, but what was great is the two kids who had worked with her actually videoed the presentation. Unfortunately, we need to work on our quality of that room. We use the Albion Cultural Exchange building, and we didn't quite have our AV set, but otherwise a good building. But she was just, overwhelmed, and they did such a sweet job. And what's kind of nice is we can just give her that recorded presentation. So she reached out. She was overwhelmed, but so well deserved.
She's still talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So it was pretty cool.
She
And
is.
as an aside, we were able to finally get Riverside back into the room. And so I talked to the Riverside rep who's going to start joining the meetings, and
Oh,
she
nice.
was, really impressed, because she's been in different communities, and she's like, wow, Wakefield really gets it. So the fact that, we had all the SROs plus the chief at the table. We had at least one school adjustment counselor, one school nurse, a school superintendent, and several other schools. The math teacher was what got the trusted adult award, and then the nurses got unsung hero, which was really
Oh.
neat, and they really appreciated it. And of course, only one of them could come. So what we did is we took all the flower arrangements that we had used, and hopefully some of the food, because we had plenty, and brought them to each nursing office.
Yeah.
And for school nursing, because they have taken up the training to recognize substance use. They've, really given us the feedback on how they see nicotine addiction affecting the kids and kind of their anxiety. And they've been charged and, understand the whole expert sort of thing. So Catherine often is able to, and Catherine again, just great job being able to kind of infiltrate every aspect, and the fact that it's open, that our Wakefield leadership is open to it. In other places, let's just say we do it well. And as Maureen said aptly, she said, Wakefield, Melrose was once the mentor for Wakefield, and now Wakefield's the mentor for everybody else. So, 10 years.
10
Pretty
years is a 10 years is a big milestone, and I want to say also, Amy and Jason did a fantastic
Yep.
job. And I mean, poor Jason behind the scenes running around, you know,
Yep.
making sure the lights are working and, you know, but I think, you know, also Amy did a great job working with you can see, you know, she's been here for what, like couple months, 6 months almost. And she's already is it almost 6 months? I
I
think
feel
she's
like
almost
we got her in September, didn't we?
Yeah,
September. Oh, okay.
8 months. or
8
9
months. Okay.
School year.
This is the
Yeah.
school year, but
Yeah.
she connected with the kids so quickly. I mean, they all talk about her all the time, and it's just it's a great connection. So
Mm.
yeah, so a very successful event, and yeah, that work continues. I think we missed Andrew. Actually, Andrew Stroni didn't make it. I think it
Yeah.
was. I think he might have been proctoring MCAS that day.
Yeah, we
Um,
have to avoid MCAS.
it's unavoidable. It's all consuming this time of
I
year.
know.
Yeah, but I think it was a fantastic event, and it celebrated the great work for the last 10 years. To finish on a somewhat sad note, Charlie's on Main caught on
Yeah.
fire this weekend, Mother's Day. We got the call around like 3:30ish, and Elaine was already on scene as she usually is. So, you know, I was following along just to make sure that they had it, but unfortunately, the day after we did the inspection, it was pretty much a total loss.
Oh.
I think fire is still trying to determine what the cause, where it started, but you know, for the most part, I think there was really very little salvageable from there. I think they had some like, you know, frozen something or other that was salvageable. You know, they were able to keep it, but otherwise everything else just had to go.
Mm.
Yeah, and then also affected were the bottom floor. There's a company called Doughboys in the basement. They're a wholesaler that really only sells pizza dough, but they don't actually fall under our local jurisdiction, so we don't do any inspections there. They actually are state federal regulated because they have a wholesaler license.
Mm.
But they were affected. Charlie's on Main was affected, and the second and third floor, those are condo units, I believe. As far as we know, no injuries, no casualties. But unfortunately, you know, just a lot of destruction. But I will say the response from fire and police were very prompt. No other buildings in the area were affected, as far as I know, right, Elaine? That's correct? Yeah, I don't think there was any damaged buildings in the area. Mutual aid from Stoneham, Melrose, and other, I think, as far as Wilmington and Woburn, I think it was like a 4-alarm fire.
Yeah.
But just a fantastic job by our first responders, and they were able to secure the area.
So we're, you know, so it always interests me to figure out in emergency situations, you know, what is, you know, so the health department certainly has to figure out the restaurant. That's a no-brainer. But we sometimes, you know, years ago, I went to the emergency shelter meeting with Chief Sullivan years ago. And, you know, that may be our role. I mean, what was our role to the residential loss?
Yeah, so actually, when fire tabbed me, and obviously, you know, when we first heard it, we want to make sure that fire had their space, make sure they had their, you know, resources to deal with the issue at hand. But they actually managed to tap in Tom Walsh as well, because he has emergency management and access to the emergency fund. So he made quick work of it, made sure that they were accommodated. They were put in accommodations. Family was contacted. You know, fortunately, in this case, they had a lot of supports from family as well. So in this case, we're in communication with the displaced residents, but it seems like they're definitely in a stable situation. It's just unfortunate. So you're right. In this, you know, in these situations, we somewhat play of like a background, but also like a catch-all kind of service. So, you know, fire and police are worried about the incident at hand, and you know, whatever we can do, kind of like a post-emergency situation, how we can help support them. So yeah, I think we're still trying to figure out, you know, that piece as well. I mean, we have Jason, we have a great resource there. You know, we have the whole council on aging, you know, support. It's just kind of a situation by situation basis. I think this one didn't require us as kind of a robust response because they had supports, but in any other situation where there's more need for immediate housing or other services, we can provide that.
Is it time for a tabletop? Like this was 15 years ago, 14
We
years
had
ago.
we did have another tabletop with the region before Ruth left, probably January, February. I know I went to it.
I
and it
saw
was
the
just
paperwork.
regional.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the regional. Yeah.
So you let us know what you need the board to do. Because, you know,
Yes.
we're a funny, you know, we're unique, you know, unlike the school department, you know, the school board, they don't go in and teach classes, but we do go in and give immunizations from time to time. So, you know, we're kind of doers as a board of health, but,
Yeah.
you know, I also want to be appropriate and maintain the, you know, what's the appropriate role, but certainly let us know what we can do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
think,
could have used your help. I had no dinner for Mother's Day. I should have called you.
My daughter was making me dinner. I wasn't home, but
I had to
still
go
owe
get
you.
takeout. I had to get takeout.
I still owe you.
At least you didn't have to cook it yourself.
No, I didn't. I found a place open.
Yeah. I heard that, I don't know, that one of the residents lost a pet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it was a dog that unfortunately didn't make it. I think it
Was
might have been-
crated, I think.
I think it was
and-
crated.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
So I think you know, and you know, the situation, that may not be the first priority, but it kind of, you know, highlights the importance. And I think Cindy actually brought this up to me, you know, registering your pets. Registering your pets is kind of like a side effect of all this. You know, when you register your pet, and you know, then our first responders know that, you know, here's what we're looking for. You know, we're looking for people, but we're also, you know, if they are keeping an eye out for, you know, knowing there's something, you know, a pet there as well. So,
oh.
so
There was a cat there was just one cat, I think they said they brought out that they
yeah, I
rescued.
think
They
a cat,
found the cat.
one of the cats made it. You know.
Oh, that's sad.
Mm.
How is Charlie from Charlie's Pizza? Does he have a plan to relocate or rebuild or? 'cause
I think
that's new to him.
I spoke with him so briefly right after the incident.
Okay.
I think he was
It's
still
just a
trying to
shock.
process, but I think Cindy actually got a hold of him right after the day after.
Yeah.
What do you guys say?
Yeah, I just text him, you know, just checking in and thinking of them. He didn't say too much, but he did post the family posted that they'll be back. But I believe when Dan ran over there and saw him in person, he has high hopes to be back within 6 months. So in the same spot, they want to rebuild and be back better than ever. And how
We
much
joked when he opened, we joked that he wasn't allowed to take down that plastic facing that looks like a thatch, and he just repainted it this brilliant red. And so my thought was, maybe a little HTTV improvement. Let's look for the opportunity here.
I think that one of the things was the outpouring from the community. I think Anthony saw that when he came, how many people were up there and have, you know, supported that business in the past and that were there, very, very concerned about them and very concerned about the residents that were up there. I know there's a GoFundMe for one of the couples.
There's one for both. Was one like a single woman and one is a couple?
Okay.
Couple, yeah.
But I believe there's one for each, and it's been circulated.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I couldn't believe, you know, the amount of support that came out for them immediately, you know, after that happened. And you know, everyone has just amazing things to say about Charlie's. I mean, just what a great part of the community, and you know, always helping out where they can, and you know, treating our first responders with such great respect, and always helping out. So yeah, but we're very excited to help them, you know, see them get back in and get going again. So
Well, and you know, we say something in the business, which is, you know, people remember how you made them feel, right? So Cindy, just doing a quick, you know, non-intrusive, you know, we're checking in to the list, just, you know, it makes them feel like they're heard. So I'm, you know, proud to be part of a department that has a heart.
Yeah.
okay, that wraps up things that I had for updates. Have you guys
Whatever you organize, girls, who wants to do what?
Well, it's been 2 years,
Oh,
Fred.
yes,
It's
yes,
been-
you're
Has it been, Candace? All right, would you like a break?
It's been in June, it will be 2 years. So let me not be over dramatic and overstate. It's been, you
Come
know.
on, 2 years, that's all
Yeah,
you're gonna
Candace, would you
do?
Yeah, well, you know, it's gonna come back around. So
Professional organizations do at least 3, you
I
know
mean,
that.
Stop it.
here's the thing. I'm not opposed to doing it for a little bit longer. I don't know what our plan is over the summer as far as our plan to meet and what sort of like what the need's gonna be over the summer. But you know, it's been Been 2 years, girls.
I think, okay.
How did we do it before? Do you remember, Laurel? Is it
I
who's
think-
ever up for election, right?
I think we just,
Honest, we switched.
We switched it. We did. I don't remember.
don't this board switch every year?
What? No, no. This
Really?
board doesn't switch every year. No.
Oh,
we
oh,
don't.
okay. I thought that we did.
Wait, yeah, well. But
ahead. You make the decision.
I have a
You're
year
the
left.
senior.
I
You're
have,
the
I have
senior.
a year left in my term. And I'm not sure
Right.
what will go after that.
I'm willing to hang in a little longer. I'm not opposed to that.
Well,
I
well,
wanted
one
to
of my
have this
thoughts,
discussion.
one of my thoughts is to give you a break because, you know, you would never make a new person a chair.
Nope.
Should there be a new person on the board in the future. So, I'd be happy to take it for the year. Or to vice, what, you know, Elaine, I don't know if you want to, like, you know, take a vote, but
I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
I mean, we could even talk 6 months, like, you know, if we wanted to shorten the rotation.
Well, I think in all fairness, Laurel, you have been wonderful the past years that you've been on and always been a great leader. Candace has too.
oh, Candace,
I'm-
you've been fabulous.
Yeah, she has really
Thank
been
you.
good.
Thank you.
I'm too much into Robert's rules lately, so I'm getting into a lot of trouble. So I don't know, Laurel. I mean, you have 1 year left till till re-election and making decisions. So I don't know. I feel that I would love to give you the honor to be the chair for this year. I mean, but it's up to you because I know you have big steps now with your job and everything. It's a very, very important
Well,
job.
Oh, thank you, but I'm not in any leadership. I'm in a one at a time kind of thing, so it's not so bad. I would be fine. Let me just, just put this out there. I mean, one of the things that I would like to do is make sure the board, well, I have a couple things to say. I am thinking that there needs to be a little bit more checking in with other departments and the town manager, the town administrator, just to check in and voice concerns from a board perspective, because I think there's some things that board members can say that employees cannot. And I feel like the spotlight was certainly on us during the pandemic, but we need to kind of get under the process and make it, just make a presence here or there. It's interesting. I think it's convenient to meet online, but I believe that we need to be that our voices should matter on what our preference is, because we have given incredible volunteer time and I'd like to see you every so often.
I agree with you, Laura.
Not to mention, how many times I've got 2 computers open trying to keep the data straight.
Yeah, I feel that, Zoom has been wonderful and Google, I've done all these conferences and the state DPH training again today on Zoom, Melissa. But I feel that I understand what you're saying. And I feel that a board like this, especially when we have a hearing, I feel we have to be in person because there's so much information we have to share, and putting it up on a screen sometimes to me is, you can sit here and have them there, but putting it up on the screen doesn't even get with me. And how many times do we sit and we look at each other and we say, oh, wait a minute, or I find it's much easier, especially when we're having discussions, especially like you got a problem here, you know what I mean? Or someone says, okay, here, let me run this. Or Cindy's always fabulous with copies of something. And all she's got to do is say, wait a minute, I have the copy of that CMR. I have this, I have that. And we can see it. And that aids us and assists us in helping in going through with
Get
our
the job
work.
done.
Yeah, I really do.
Not to mention job satisfaction.
Yeah, that's mhm. That's a good
and
thing.
making those blueberry muffins finally.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll take them in the fall, maybe when you're not busy.
I will
So,
say, I hear what you're saying, and I think meeting in person is really valuable. But for me,
it's easier, I know.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
and not all the time, I just can't ignore the utility of it.
Right,
You know,
right, right.
that I'm able to meet at 6, you know,
Yep.
because we do it this way.
Right, right.
And so I definitely hear like it's been a long time and there's a lot of nuance that's missed when we do a meeting like this. But I think, you know, I think Zoom does, or virtual meetings, whatever the heck you want to call it, does have a role. And I also can sometimes appreciate, you know, if we're going to talk for a minute about sustainability, not having to print out all that stuff to be able to reference the packet, you know, kind of quickly on your computer.
I still print it out because I
Okay.
can't, you know, so I, you know, when we talk about how I agree with you. I need a new computer. It's dying, but we're not supported by the town for our tech. And it's, you know, and it's so funny because like we have made movements and you can see the town budgets. Everyone's like, yeah, we're not printing anything anymore. I'm like, no, people are printing them at home. It's the same trees. It's just we've switched the word as possible for a certain generation.
Well, maybe this is a time to bring up too. I know that like I believe last year or maybe at the beginning of COVID, we also had been brought to us about the fact that we were a small board, 3 people.
Mm.
And if 2 people were unavailable, which I mean, sometimes we have been unavailable
That's
and it's
happened.
been hard for us to get there, you know, of the possible increasing the size of the board. I don't know. I know you mentioned it one time.
I
and
know.
It was
I
brought to us.
I have that. So there's to increase the size of the board would be a change in the town charter.
Got it. Right,
So
okay.
there's that. As well as whether or not a board is elected or appointed
Pointed,
as
yeah.
part of the charter. I have to say, I have gone back and forth. There are definitely times when I really appreciated that I was not appointed. Because I really felt a little bit more independent. And also sort of felt like that put me in, I don't know, it's a different feeling. I could, you know, I can't quantify it really.
I think independent is the right word. You know, you
Yeah.
weren't beholden to other powers. You
Right,
were
right.
more free to speak your
Right.
mind. You're right.
And so for instance, you know, town council, you know, again, did an appreciation for volunteers in town. And it was for the volunteers who they had appointed. And I was like, that is absolutely appropriate. I'm really glad that they did that. There have been times where we've been included and I felt a little funny. I'm like, we were not appointed by you. Just felt, you know, a little sideways. Nice effort, of course. So you know, it's hard to say. You know, what amazes me is in Linfield, they have a select board that's only 3 people. And for a select board, you know, that's interesting, right? Because they can't have subcommittees. So if we were 5, if the Board of Health was 5, it's not at all usual in towns this size to be more than 3. I think, Anthony, at one point you took a quick survey and it was generally 3. And it was 3, it was almost 3. Yeah, and I think that I was chafing at the fact that we couldn't talk amongst each other outside of a meeting. And I think I've adjusted to that.
I mean,
So,
having just 3 of us does, you know, if we need to coordinate, we only need to coordinate between
Right,
the 3 of us and the, you know, the rest of the department. But maybe it's a little bit easier sometimes to get 3 schedules in line.
yeah, and we do a bang up job, right? So, you know, it's not broken. But you know, Elaine, you're absolutely right. I was very vocal about it, and lately I've been like, yeah.
I will say the election process is challenging, you know,
Yep.
like I struggle with, and this election cycle, I didn't have to campaign, but campaigning and the feel of asking the community for money, it's so like inherently wrong.
I know.
Given this role and the intention of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
So that's tough, but I do appreciate the autonomy like that comes with being an appointed
Yeah.
Um,
And, you know, there's kind of an opportunity, you know, as people have said, there's an opportunity, to, you know, you kind of have to put yourself out there, right? You like actually have to meet the public, as opposed to being appointed where you meet a committee. So, you know, that's up to the charter, but, you know, they would certainly listen to us if we felt compelled to offer that opportunity. I don't know, but the business tonight is, you know, if we reorganize, we can reorganize tonight. And then, generally the tradition is to reorganize after the most recent election. So we forgot to put it on the agenda last time, but that's exactly what they did. In the town council meeting, the gavel was actually handed over by the end of the meeting, which was kind of funny. We can do it however we care to do it. But Candace, I think you've done a lion's share of public speaking, and incredibly articulate when you've, you know, we've watched you join Anthony, a winner. Like, just, you know, you just polished and you got it. But I want you for sustainability and longevity. So you know, I'm thinking maybe a year off would be a good idea.
I appreciate that, Laurel. I appreciate it. And I mean, you know, there's one thing to be said for sort of being in the swing of it, right? Like, I'm in the swing of it now. Like, I kind of got the routine down. I think what's tough is that, you know, starting this role, it's not, or it wasn't at least, always so clear what exactly the expectations are. You know, I think I went into this thinking it would be like a 2-hour a month meeting once a month, which is not what this role is. There's so much more. And there's no like job description out there. So, you know, I think it was an adjustment in planning with my family. But now that adjustment has been made. And so, you know, like you said, it's, you know, it's a lot. And I think I never imagined I'd be like talking to the finance committee, or, you know, actually
That got
putting
so
on-
overdone. I don't know how we blew into 2 finance meetings plus
Yeah.
town council. It's like, oh my Lord.
Yeah,
Great.
yep.
Okay, check back with us in 5 years. We might be doing 10.
Yeah, cool, fun.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Could be, could
Yeah.
be. I don't
Well,
know.
okay, I just want to say you guys have all had your opportunity to say, you know, how great of a job Candace is. So it's my turn now. I
Oh,
just want to
Oh,
say,
here
I
it
just want to
goes.
say, I'll keep it short. Candace, you have been absolutely fantastic. You know, everyone has, you know, the both of you have been new at one point for the Board of Health, but, you know, Candace stepping in at such a challenging time during COVID. You know, it's been bumpy. We've had a couple of difficult cases, you know, it's been a tough time. And I think you just stepping in and taking that responsibility and just kind of rolling with everything that we've given you, you know, couldn't ask for someone better to just, you know, come in and do that. So I think, you know, thank you again for everything. And, you know, we couldn't, you know, we couldn't hope for anybody better, and hopefully you'll stick with us for a while. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
so what do you want to do?
You want to be the person to make the suggestion, Anthony? Is that what you want?
No, he
I-
can't.
I am completely.
That's gotta be us, huh, Laura?
We have to-
neutral
we
at
Yeah,
this
have
he
point.
can't. He doesn't have a say. Sorry, Anthony.
I mean, I think you make a point, you know, like, there's part of me that defers to both of you, Elaine and Laurel. You've been doing this much longer, and you know this role very well. You know, I'm in here for 3 years, so I will be coming back. I'm willing to carry on, but not
Really?
for more than at least like 1 year. Like, I could do 1 more year, and then I definitely would really like a break. But you know, if either one of you are interested in this, Laurel, we talked about, you know, that you're the next one up for election, if that weighs on your mind at all.
It does, yeah. So I'm not supposed to nominate myself.
I can nominate you if you want me to nominate you, Laura.
I-
I mean, I know how hard it is too. And, you know, you're starting out in a new career and you've done so much and always been with everyone. And I have 2 more years before election comes up and make my decisions. be a little bit older by then. A lot older, and all new parts practically, so maybe that'll help, you know. But I don't know, Laurel, how you feel with your election coming up, if you wanted to do this last year before election, if you felt it was something or too much, if you.
I don't feel like it's too much. I would be interested in pursuing it, and maybe, you know, as to kind of what Candace is speaking to, maybe formulate expectations of a chair. And actually, you know, kind of write it down. But,
If
you know,
there's
in
a
general,
problem, you know, I would step in.
of
right
course.
away.
Yeah,
Same,
no, no,
you
no.
know, same. I feel like there's
Exactly.
always been
None
good,
of us,
there's
yeah.
always been great cooperation between the three of us. So I do, I feel there's a sense of trust.
So, you know, let's just see if we agree on the duties of the chair is, you know, to manage the agenda with the health director. Manage the meeting with the public, you know, and be kind of the point person between other committees, or at least assign or delegate to another member to be a point person to another committee. I kind of feel like that's our job. It's not our job as board members to be at other events. We just go anyways. By the way, I will show up to Festival by the Lake. And you know, and being and participating in emergency management kinds of things. I mean, it's hard to say after COVID what we did so much more, but you know, that's our primary responsibility. So I would be honored to take another year, unless Candace, you felt like you really want to stay.
I would get behind a nomination for Laurel to
I
take over.
can second, I will second that nomination.
Okay,
Yours, Laurel.
Yeah.
all in favor?
Congratulations.
I accept.
All in
Thank you
favor,
very much.
silver eye, you accept.
Yes.
There you go. See how easy we are, Anthony?
Okay,
Yeah.
so Candace, do you want to be, so now we have vice chair and secretary. Secretary has no role.
No, I remember the first year I saw my name is that I said, oh my God, I think I'm supposed to be taking notes or something. I was
And
writing
we have
down.
Cindy, thank God.
No, me, I have
Thank you,
everything
Cindy.
written.
Oh, it looks like I was vice chair.
Good for you.
So.
I guess that'll push me up and give Candace way
We're
down.
gonna
to the
totally give Candace a
secretary.
year off.
How's that?
Okay, that's fine. I don't mind being
Secretary.
vice chair either. Either role I'm okay with.
Well, as you know, if there's a hole, we'll all fill it.
Yep.
So, okay, so I would then make a motion to reorganize so that Elaine Silva is vice chair and Candace Linehan serves as secretary.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Hi, Silva.
Linehan, aye.
So noted. Okay, guys, I'm going to take my imagination gavel. Any other business that we haven't?
I wish I had it to hand to you. I
It would
only
be,
have it
it would be pretty funny to pull.
See, if we were in person, we could have did that.
Oh,
A
yeah,
big
let's see.
ceremony.
Yes, today.
I would have had one delivered to your house.
And the next meeting is when?
Are we doing a next meeting or like what's
All
the?
right, we do a June.
Okay,
Usually do June and not
Okay.
July if we can help it.
okay. 21?
Yep.
Yeah, that would be it.
It's fine.
So 6, 21, 23, and you want to keep it at 6?
That's fine.
I do intend to reach out to Administrator Mayo to share a few thoughts.
Thank you,
About
Laurel. If
the
you need
option.
any support, let me know.
Well, and I'm wondering when we can expect the public meetings to be held in the police roll call room, because it's supposed to be wired, and it's I was telling Anthony, I was just the participant at a planning board meeting in Kittery, and I gotta tell you, those people are buttoned up. It was fairly formal, but also incredibly professional. And this, we'll see. I'll have a chat with admin Mayo at some point. I'll let you know. All right.
All right.
Anyone going away? Anyone doing something fun?
No, school.
Cleaning, physical
carries on.
therapy, yeah, physical therapy.
Oh,
Camps,
I know.
camps and more camps.
My girls are
No.
coming to Camp Q. You're gonna see their paperwork.
Awesome.
Oh,
I
yeah,
filled
good.
it out perfectly. I'll have you know. Like,
You will be the
so-
example.
Oh,
So
yeah.
make sure that when you're, doing a sample representation,
Yeah, pull the door, girls.
I will.
Don't forget us at Relay
Why
for
is it
Life.
missing stuff? Why is it missing all this stuff?
Don't forget us at Relay for Life. It's our 24th year.
oh,
of the
God bless
vote,
you. When is that, Nana?
June 16th.
June 16th?
Yeah, June 16th to 17th. And hopefully next year for our 25th, we will have a place to go.
Well, you could.
And
Oh,
the high school was actually Beasley Field was our original site when we started.
I know, and you
but-
might move back there.
I don't know because the problem is with the turf, putting tents and stuff
Well,
like that.
but that turf is gonna be destroyed with the new building, so they might let you do it.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I keep telling everyone, I keep hoping for that. But this is 24 years and we haven't been sunsetted and there's been 4 or 5 other communities around us that have. So
Really? Oh,
yeah. Stoneham is gone, Reading is gone, Peabody is gone, and somebody else really big this year too. Wilmington, I think it was, lost theirs this year. And these have been events that have raised as much as us, if not more at times, but
well, there's nothing.
we-
I
yeah.
mean, the only other thing would be Vets Field.
well, even there, I don't know. It's kind of, you have
No.
to remember your bathroom, and you have to remember, I have,
know.
talk about the safety rules. I have them written out so that we can go.
No
into the
swimming?
school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that we can go into the school during thunder and lightning, and good thing we did do it because we did have a storm, bad one year, and that's where we went. That's where we went. So there's
Oh,
lots of
man.
things, but we'll see.
Okay, keep us posted.
All
Lynn.
right.
Speaking of
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
everybody.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, a motion to end the meeting.
I'll second it.
Meeting adjourned. Take good care. 7:38.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.